Testing, testing, 2, 1, 2. Testing. Check, check. All right. I get loud when I get excited, so I might get a little louder, but as long as it's, all right. Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, seriously, we are, yeah. What? Go say hi. You good? We're good?
Yeah.
Hey, man. Hi. Good to meet you finally. Good to meet you finally. Sorry, how are things? Thank you for coming.
Oh no, my pleasure.
Good. 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 Busy. Busy. Very busy. Traveling a lot. I've been home now for at least. This time I'm home for like 6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks will be the longest. Yeah. Then Vegas in 2 weeks. So, 2 or 3 weeks, something. Yeah. Thank you for coming, young man. Appreciate it. How's Anderson?
Fine.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
usual.
Second year now?
September onwards.
September will be second year. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right now I'm doing my internship. Otherwise,
And it's been. Sorry. And you're full time, right?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so it's been
Okay.
just a year now.
Yeah. Okay. But then only one half done. Yeah.
Pretty much. I'm interning with Vidi. Have you heard of Vidi?
Yeah, I know Vidi. Yeah.
JJ.
Tofik. You know?
Tofik left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Tofik left. That's right.
I mean, yeah, he's one of the guy who interviewed me, and then
Okay. And then he left.
Yeah.
And where did he go? Do you know?
He Storm 8.
Okay.
It's another startup that's in Bay Area.
Okay.
So he
Did
just
some
left
not?
like a month ago or something.
I think some not good news come out about Vidi.
Has been coming.
Has been coming, right? Yeah. I'm not that plugged
since
in on the.
last 6 months or so.
Okay.
Ever since Vine was bought by
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
The series of bad news.
Any pivot in the
Yeah, so
forecast?
we're launching a new app now.
Okay.
Like yes, day before yesterday we submitted 2 apps, and they want to feature us there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we
Oh,
just.
fantastic.
But our strategy was different. Like we didn't want to release the news, make the news releases and stuff. So
Right.
we
Just
wanted to go
slowly. So
organically.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The board wanted that way, but
Yeah.
if they feature it, the plans will change.
Right,
So
right.
we need to make it open now.
Okay.
Right now we're making it only by
Private.
invitation,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Private beta.
See,
That's a good problem, I think.
I mean, yeah.
Some people die for that exposure. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Some-
So that way they're pretty
Yeah.
well off. I mean, they have
Yeah.
lots of money in the bank, so they
Yeah.
don't worry about. So
Right. Right. They can do a slow launch.
These are
Yeah.
one of the few of the startups who have lots of money and still a startup. So they're launching a new app, but they have lots of money. So they're spending money for marketing efforts, for development, for anything
Yeah.
and everything. Unlike most of the other startups where they're really
Right.
cautiously
Right.
play and stuff like that.
Right.
They don't need to worry about the investors and funding because
Yeah.
they already have
They
a
have the
strong
cash,
board.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the board, if they want to raise for
They'll give it.
new app also, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the people.
Must be nice.
So it's
Yeah.
they have different problems.
Right.
They burned lots of money in the first app, like
Yeah.
Vidi.
Right. Right.
Other people have problem in the beginning, now their problem later.
At one point of time, they were valued at $870 million, and they got a funding of 30 million, and they had people like
Just giving them money. Yeah.
After
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Khosla Ventures and
I'm Krishna.
Krishna.
Here's, hello. Hello. them, and then this is for the video.
Got it.
In your butt, wherever yours
In my
is.
butt.
All right. Hello. How's everybody doing? Woo! Right? How's everybody doing? Woo! We're about to find out how to get our companies acquired and make tons of billions of dollars. I mean, who wouldn't feel completely excited about that? My name's Espree Devora. I work with TechZulu. I'm so proud to be part of the TechZulu team. I want to thank Rock for having us. What? Ooh. Which? This one? Like I don't speak loud enough, right? Oh, hello. Is that better? Now I can hear myself. Hi. It's like my imaginary friend. My name's Espree Devora. I work with TechZulu. Can you guys hear me without this? Is that a problem? Use the mic? All right. Boss man said I don't have a choice. And I'm really proud to be a part of the TechZulu team and honored that Rock has us do these fireside chats with established entrepreneurs who really make a positive impact on the community. And I'm here with Krishna, and we met at a Founders Card event. He is the CEO of Sortfolio, one of my favorite companies, bringing the most talented web designers together so we as entrepreneurs can easily find them and get our projects done. And I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself and give his own little rendition.
Thank you, Espree. Thanks, guys, for showing up. So 37 Signals invented Sortfolio. So they wrote it, initially it was Haystack, back in October of 2009. And late, I guess mid last year, decided to put it up for sale. My partner, Eric Martinson's in Boston. Eric, I don't know if you're watching, hey. He is a Ruby on Rails programmer extraordinaire. 37 Signals invented Ruby on Rails, so he keeps close tabs and reads their blog, Signal versus Noise. Found out that Sortfolio was up for sale. Knows I'm always looking for business opportunities. We had met on some other entrepreneurial endeavor of mine, sort of kept in touch. Called me up, the opportunity looked fantastic, and we acquired it October of last year. So it hasn't even been a year yet. Things are going well. And Sortfolio is as Espree said, it's a directory of web designers and creative agencies. We have, as of today, I think just shy of 13,500 agencies and designers worldwide, 220 countries. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's visually oriented, so it's not a lot of clicks and everything. If you're looking for a web designer, you really just want to see their work, and that's really what Sortfolio comes down to. The interface is fantastic. If you haven't been on the site, definitely check it out. Everyone's always looking for designers. Just easy to use. It's fantastic.
I know most of you know me, but for those of you who don't, you know, it's incredibly important to me that by the time you leave here, you'll have actionable information you could walk away with that will truly make a huge impact on your business, that will save you a ton of time. So that's what we plan to do. So as you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. And if we're in the middle of a conversation, I will take note. You are important to me. I'm absolutely committed to your success. And to say that, there's a couple things that you brought up, and maybe not everybody here knows what those are. Does everybody, let's start at the beginning. Who here has a company right now? Raise your hand. And of you, who are looking to have your companies acquired? Not all of you? I just wanted to get a feel of the room. Now, you talked about two things. You talked about one of my favorite companies, like that I've just paid attention to forever because they write the best books, the best community offering, 37 Signals. Does everybody in this room know who 37 Signals is? If you don't know, and don't be embarrassed, raise your hand. Right, there's a few. So let's talk about 37 Signals. Let's also talk about what Ruby on Rails is.
Sure. I wish Eric was here. He could talk more about that. Ruby on Rails is this...
It's a programming language.
It's a programming language. Very popular, very in demand. Some of your favorite sites are written on it. And coders are expensive to get who work in Rails. But 37 Signals actually invented the language. They're based out of Chicago. Jason Fried is sort of he's their founder and writes all the books, writes for Inc. magazine. I think he's been called the next Steve Jobs somewhere.
I think he's better than Steve Jobs. And what attracted you to 37 Signals, like on a personal level?
Yep, so to be honest, I was aware of 37 Signals. So I went to UCLA Anderson, the business school. We used Basecamp over there, so I was aware of 37 Signals. honestly, I had not heard of Sortfolio. But in little entrepreneurial endeavors I've been in, I know the pain of trying to find good programmers, good designers. So Eric calls me up, knows I'm looking for business stuff, business opportunities, and he's like, hey, 37 Signals is selling one of their products. So obviously, buying something off 37 Signals is really appealing, right? So that I won't deny that was really one of the great attractions of it. Like, we're going to buy a product out of 37 Signals. Also, there's a customer base. So pre-existing customer base has been in business for 2.5 years. They're profitable. So
what's that?
Yeah, so for a startup, it's crazy, right? Because you're talking about running 2-3 years in the red. Here we are, can acquire something from a brand name tech company that's profitable. We've got cash in our pockets to work with, and the market's untapped. So it's a pain point I was aware of. So like the service was fantastic. And their 37 Signals will tell you one of the reasons they were selling it, probably the primary reason they were selling it, was because their core product is probably Basecamp. And they just were not putting the time into marketing Sortfolio. So instead of just hanging on to it and letting it, wither away, it was part of their culture to just let it go instead of providing a shitty product. So it was all upside. They weren't doing any marketing, so there's this massive untapped potential. It just looked like everything was in the plus column. There was no reason not to do this.
And was this the first company that you acquired?
It is. First company for Eric or myself. Normally I've just tried to start up things, and I just know what a pain that is. And I've had failure after failure after failure, and it was just, you're able to kickstart yourself into an operating business. It's like Newton's first law, right? Inertia. So I think it's true in the startups. So it's so hard to get those first 100 customers, after your friends and family. So like getting past that, to be able to like jump, to get over, leapfrog all that pain, there's so much value in that. You're up and running, you've got cash to play with, you can implement things, you can try things.
And I mean, it's your first company, and I think a lot of people are like, well, okay, do you have to have your own money, or do you go out and raise money in order to acquire a company?
Yep, great question.
Not your first, sorry to clarify, not your first company, it's the first company you acquired.
Right, so Eric and I did not have the money to outright pay for it. So we went out looking for some money. We had an investor who was willing to jump on board and take a good chunk of it. As you guys probably know, or if you don't know, investor money is expensive money, especially when you need them more than they need you. So we had that, so the plan was in place. We could have pulled it off, put in some money of our own, but a lot of investor money. But I decided to go to banks. So going to a bank for tech startups is like really hard. So,
like an SBA loan.
So it is harder than an SBA loan. So the SBA loan shot us. So I knocked on every door you can think of. I just contacted bank after bank after bank after bank. Just hit Google for anybody that was doing any kind of small business lending. Walked in so many offices, and all no's. Hit the SBA. The SBA even has like ancillary offices that'll help you put together packages. I talked to them. It was just all no's. And then one bank, and I'm so proud of them, City National, they stepped up, and they just, they had faith in us, And to that, there's a lot of talk in the startup community right now about the value of an MBA. This is kind of a tangent, but I know a lot of the big guys are saying that an MBA is sort of useless and expensive. MBAs don't know how to run businesses. We're all book smart. We don't really know what we're doing when it comes to the real world. Having said that, I understand I get what they're trying to say, but I could not have put together that package to those banks without my MBA. And
that is way interesting.
I couldn't have done it. You have to, like, if you're talking to people, one second, if you're talking to people about money, you need to talk their language. So even if you don't execute on what you said, just be able to phrase things and package things in a way that they want to see it and make them comfortable. I couldn't have done it without the MBA. So take that for what it's worth.
Did we have a question? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When you say package, what do you mean by package?
So they want to see projections. They want to see financials. I don't know if you guys ever done loans, even home loans. They ask for everything in your firstborn.
Unless you invested in real estate, like circa 2004.
Correct.
Wait, did that answer your question, Ryan?
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thanks, Espree. So they ask for personal financial statements. So both Eric and my financial statements. They want to see projections for the business. They want to see prior business revenues of the business. They wanted to see, Eric was doing some consulting in his own firm. They wanted to see all his financials. But when I say the package, you want to make a story. It's just like applying for anything. So tell a story. Put it in a way that they're going to buy it, they're going to feel invested, and they're going to feel comfortable that their money's not at risk.
How close to like a pitch was it?
It's a pitch.
It is a pitch.
It's a pitch.
Okay.
It's a pitch. It's not like it just comes down to the numbers. I mean, I can honestly say the banker and I sort of just hit it off. We just had a good rapport. I think that helped. He had to go to bat. Like those guys go to bat for you in the loan office. And those loan officers never see you. They have no idea who you are, if you're trustworthy or anything. They just rely on what that loan representative is telling them. It's all a game, man. It's all storytelling and selling yourself, always be on.
One thing I want you to dive into just a little bit more, because I want to make sure everybody hears it, is it took a lot of knocking to get to the yes, a lot of no's to get to the yes. And it's important that people understand it's not easy. It's not peaches all the time.
It is not peaches most of the time. And I think that's the biggest startup entrepreneurial thing, man. I mean, you guys know. Have you guys all have your own businesses, startups mostly?
Raise your hand again. I know we did in the beginning.
Mostly.
For those of you that don't have your own business, what's the one thing, you didn't raise your hand in the back, what's the one thing that you want, to get out of the talk? What made you want to come tonight?
Well, I actually have recently started working for a smaller business startup, so I've kind of been thrown into that role with not as much experience, so I'm trying to catch up.
Got it. And one other person that doesn't have their own startup.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, I got a room of shy people.
This might, when you asked if we're interested in selling, I'm not. But I am interested. For a while I did merger advisory work. And this kind of leads into a question. Did you find any firms out there that address the need for startups to approach several banks? I mean, I completely agree with you that packaging is right, the right way matters, and it is a numbers game. So there are people who, at least in the financial buyer world, have 1,000 people on Rolodex and they can hit them immediately with your package.
Right.
It's just an easier process. Sounds like you're very capable to do it on your own. So the question is there anybody serving that need in kind of the smaller to startup?
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. I don't know of them, clearly. That's great. I don't know if
that's what some attorneys in LA are trying to do, right? Be that connector
some conduit,
between,
right?
Yeah, attorneys generally. I happen to be a licensed attorney, but got out very quickly and became an entrepreneur. And most attorneys that say that they can do deals really can, and they're not very good attorneys, or they're attorneys and they can't do deals. I just think there's a conflict there in terms of the attorney representing you as a real broker.
Right.
Because the broker's job is, like you said, package, tell a story, and reach out as much as possible. And a lawyer's job just isn't to know 3,000 people to contact,
right?
Unless that's what they're doing all the time. So
Right.
Yeah.
it sounds like I don't know if you look for someone that kind of performs this function in a professional way. Or?
I mean, I hit my network up. Everybody knew. We're trying to find some financing. If anybody knows anybody, I didn't get any feedback back about like that. Sounds like market opportunity. If anybody. Business
And
idea.
there's a question we got,
How much were you trying to raise in the bank?
As much as possible, upwards of around. We were trying to raise around 400,000.
Did you know you wanted to acquire Sortfolio before you went out and raised money? Or did you want to acquire a company, go out, raise money, and then decide, okay, this is the budget I have to acquire a company?
Yeah, so this is great. So this story is all over the net. So 37 Signals put out, they put they put Sortfolio up for sale, weren't getting too many buyers. So they announced spring of last year.
You know what's interesting about that, to cut you off
Yeah,
for
go
1
ahead.
second?
Go ahead.
Is 37 Signals is such a popular company, so that they weren't getting a lot of buyers. Yet again, even for people that you think haven't made, still have to hustle.
Yeah, right. You would think a cash flow positive company coming out of 37 Signals would sell like that. I think what happened was they were marketing to the wrong people. I think they were marketing to mostly tech guys who follow 37 Signals, and I don't think they reached the business guys.
But you said they put it out there.
Put it out there, and the story was, if they don't sell by July 1st, they're closing it. They're not taking any more offers. They're going to shut down the business, sale or no sale, no negotiation, just that's it. We found out about it late. I found out about it late in the game. I think we didn't start talking to them until, I want to say April. So April something. So we've got till July 31st. So we made our first phone call to them in April, and they had 2 other parties in negotiations. So I think what happened, we were able to move quickly. So, so to answer your question, no, I wasn't thinking about raising money at all. It was like, okay, I got to buy this business. We got to find some money. I think it was a fit thing again. I think they saw that we were going to be great caretakers for Sortfolio compared to the other parties. I think they saw maybe parallels with my partner and I to them. I mean, we've got this great Ruby programmer and a business guy. Again, fit and story and people, comes down to people a lot.
How long did the acquisition process take from the start of communicating to it's yours?
So we got under contract in time. I mean, we did it by July 1st. We had to. So we hustled. I mean, May, June, like a month and a half, we closed it. So, and that's going to the banks and everything, So Eric and I are putting in long hours, but we got it done. But because it happened so fast, we didn't take the reins until October. So the official handover wasn't until October, but we had the deal pretty much, wrapped up.
Did 37 Signals care whether you raised money or it was your own?
They were not going to sell with a contingency of a loan or financing or anything like that. They didn't want to do any financing. They didn't want to have equity. They just wanted to hand it over cleanly. So I had the investor in my pocket if we needed it. So that bought us some time at least to get that loan.
And you said investors are expensive. Some people may not be familiar with what that means versus taking out a bank loan. Can you get into that?
Sure. So investors want equity in your children. And they will just so they're taking a big risk, right? They don't know you. They are just putting in money and expecting a gigantic return, like 10, 20 times what they put in. And for them, it's a numbers game, right? They're going to invest in a bunch of startups and, high risk, high reward. It's a risky business. Most of us fail. And they want to make sure they're going to make tons of money for taking that risk. So they take a lot of equity. So they take a lot of your company to have the privilege of giving you money.
And you said something interesting about 37 Signals deciding they were going to shut it down by July if
a lot of people thought it was a marketing ploy. I don't know.
No, but the thing is, how did the Sortfolio, because it's a profitable company, let's not forget, so how did the Sortfolio customers feel about it? I mean, that as a customer, do you know?
Yeah, I don't. So I started in due diligence. I called a lot of the clients on Sortfolio just to see how they felt about the business. And the other thing, talking about why we bought it, Sortfolio is so well loved by that community of agencies. It's just there's sort of like the sense of pride on being on there. And that really meant a lot to us actually too, that we're buying this quality product. There were, I think on some blog, there's a quote from one of the clients saying, Sortfolio pays my mortgage and feeds my children. Please don't close down.
That's amazing.
Something like that.
I like that.
You said investors want a lot of equity. What's a number that is a lot of equity percentage-wise?
I love that question. Thank you.
So, so it all depends on the deal. Yeah, we're talking, depends on how strong your company is, how strong your founding team is, right? So if you've got a really strong package, like you're really profitable, you've got a huge market potential, you can stand your ground, they're willing to take less. If you're desperate for money, they're gonna have to put in a lot of time. The risk is high. I mean, sky's the limit. It's 50%, 70% to take a risk on you. Let me say, a lot of them are smart enough to know, though, if they take away control from the founder, and the founder's a key component of that company, they don't want to disincentivize you, right? It's not in their interest for you as a founder and operating member of the company to lose interest. So at that point, I think if it starts looking like they're going to have to put that much in, they're probably just not interested in the business.
And the customers being jaded, if, so the owner saying Sortfolio is gone by July when it's profitable, how did that affect the customer base?
So a lot of them, again, didn't actually really know it was for sale. And I think that goes to them not marketing it properly. A lot of them didn't know it was for sale, which was good, I think.
How do you do due diligence on acquiring a company? Like, what's the process? What kind of steps do you take? How long does it take?
It can take a bit. I guess it's a matter of how much you want to do to get comfortable with your product. I probably called 20, 30 agencies and just talked about their experience with Sortfolio. Was it useful to them? What did they get out of it? What would they change? Just that sort of stuff. Anything you would buy, if you're buying a used car or something, things you would ask the car.
So pretty much you decided you wanted Sortfolio,
Yep.
and then you hit the pavement and just started to raise the money to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're sitting here.
Now we're sitting here. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Back to the bank question.
Yeah.
When you went to the banks, even though the company's profitable, why would they say no?
Because there's risk. So first of all, it's can you guys repay the loan? So new management coming in, right? So we weren't running the company before. It's new owners. So are we qualified to run this business and keep the cash coming in as historically it did? Secondly, is there enough extra money coming in to cover the debt? So they don't want to see you can just cover the debt. They want to see a multiple of that debt coverage. So it's just a matter of risk to them, like especially after the global financial crisis, GFC, 2007, underwriting has just gotten ridiculous. It is so hard to get a loan. They want to cover every base possible.
And what were some of the initial changes you made after you acquired Sortfolio?
So Sortfolio, you can so it's a bunch of agencies. You get on the website, there's cards. It's like every agency has a card. And then you can just scroll. And the cool thing is on every card,
A digital card.
little digital card, yeah. Each card has an image slider. So you can just right away see portfolio images of each designer. It doesn't take a lot of clicks. If you want to click in and then get like a bigger picture, you can. But the idea is you can scroll through creative agencies and see their work straight away. You can sort by budget and you can sort by location. So if you want someone local and you know you can spend 15 grand, you can narrow it down to by that criteria. That's it, functionality. The idea is there's like beauty in its simplicity, and 37 Signals is great for that, right? Everything's really clean, simple, easy to use. While it worked beautifully, we wanted to start adding some features to make it a little more of a richer experience. Eric found out going through the code, the site was designed to do just what it did. To add any other features, a lot of sort of foundation building had to get done. So that took some time. To answer your question, our big first feature release was something we call collections. So now you can actually go in and see designers that have done restaurant websites or health and fitness websites, banking websites. So that's like by industry. You can also, and so what will happen is
That's fantastic.
you'll click restaurant and you'll get popped up all these samples of restaurant websites that designers have done. You can also sort by technology. So if you want to see people have done Rail websites, Drupal, Magento, you can sort by technology. You can also sort by platform. If you're looking for like a WordPress designer, you can just get all these WordPress.
And that all wasn't there before?
None of that was there before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, none of it. So we launched
Oh,
that.
it wasn't there.
Was not there, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy because that's how you think about it. Like if you own a sports business, you're going to look at sports-related stuff. Yeah,
And that's kind of, we also, in our to-do list.
such a simple thing that people would want. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And then we're also going to be implemented. So that will fold into true search. So then you can just type, because right now it's a collection, but it'll go into free search. You can just type in what you're looking for and get that. That's coming.
Go ahead.
So you mentioned how the website was originally designed to do like one thing and one thing well.
Yeah.
And so sounds like you had some like direction where you wanted to take it after you acquired it, some new features you wanted to add.
Yep.
How did that factor in with your like ROI calculation, whether it makes sense to do the deal in the first place?
So going back to talking the language of money to the banks, you just have to when you put together these packages, you just make assumptions. That's all you can do. And generally those assumptions are useless for anything more than like 3 weeks out. So, but the bank wants to see, I want to see 3-year, 5-year projections.
Listen, financial projections are useless
Totally.
everywhere.
Completely.
They're like psychic bogus.
And the banks are still making decisions based off those, right?
So are investors, yeah.
But you have to do it. So ROI, we just made assumptions, we just think, we look at historical growth of Sortfolio when 37 Signals had it. We say, maybe if we start doing these changes, we can increase traffic by such percentage. That'll convert to client growth by such percentage and, see if it works. Being cash flow positive though, from day one, it sort of was a no-brainer. So everything after that was kind of gravy. It wasn't gonna be like a make or break decision for us. We had so little time. It was sort of, we had to do it by the seat of our pants.
So then you kind of mentioned how when you were pitching to the bank, you had to make forecasts and stuff like that. But then the 37 Signals, when they were, as the sellers, did they provide that kind of information to you? To help you make
So
that decision?
this made my job really difficult going to the banks. Sortfolio was not front of mind for 37 Signals. So it actually didn't even have its own accounting. It was all under the 37 Signals umbrella.
I think that's how Basecamp got started too.
Yeah, so 37, I'll just keep talking about 37 Signals
Yeah.
real quick. They have this awesome knack of like finding gaps in the market and of stuff that they just want to use. So there was no great like task management platform. So they're like, to hell with it, we're just gonna build something for ourselves. Clients would come in for them and just like, hey, what is this awesome task management, project management system you're using? Can you build that for us? And Basecamp was born. And I think most of the stuff they do comes out of that self-need. And that's sort of that thing, you guys probably all starting businesses, you're like, I constantly have this need to, like this experience sucks, I can do better. So that's what it was for them. So they did not have like real numbers. So we had to we got a letter from 37 Signals accountant sort of validating their numbers. The bank didn't love that, but it was like, they wanted like tax returns from Sortfolio and like tax returns, it's all, so all assumptions, Sashi.
Lesson is nobody needs to be perfect.
You can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was your question answered? Okay, good. Talking about moving forward and starting to increase sales and all of that, what actions did you take to start marketing it again and to increase the customer base? What's the business model of Sortfolio?
Yeah, good question. So it's free for agencies actually to be on Sortfolio. They can get a free listing, but there is a premium listing. So I don't know if you look at like real estate websites, you can get premium placement. So $99 a month will get an agency a larger card, so their images look larger. They also get to upload multiple images, 6, as opposed to just 1 for the free guys. And they show up before the free listings in any city or any budget. But within that, it's all randomized. So pro listers will get randomized, free listers get randomized. And they get to show up in collections now. Free listings don't get to show up in that industry platform technology bit.
Well, before I go ahead, anybody have any questions right now that you want answered? Go ahead.
So, purely, there wasn't really any competition when we bought it. Specifically providing like a graphic interface for web designers, right? There's a lot of freelance websites out there. Like if you want to hire freelancers, there's a ton of them. And that experience for me has been really painful. But as far as like an agency-oriented site directory, there really wasn't any. They're starting to pop up, and also, like the sites like Behance and Dribbble, where their designers are showcasing their work. Those are obviously becoming really popular, but the focus of those still is not like lead generation. They're still more just like portfolio showcase sites. We are purely there if you're looking to hire a designer. We're the directory for that.
And what did you do to market and start increasing sales again?
Want to get the question?
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
how did you negotiate the price? If my point is that if you don't have a true financial, easy, you understand the revenue side.
Yep.
The expense side is very hard.
Yep, so we got some breakdown of expenses because they knew internally, right? So we got it from 37 Signals. We just couldn't really get it documented for the bank. So the expenses were real. We got real numbers for expenses from 37 Signals. And then it was just a matter of working with them on the price. So this might
He's a charming guy. That counts for something.
This was brilliant on their part, and it's a great negotiation tactic is to have a deadline. And I don't know if they did that by design or not, but there was this cutoff, so that from our side, it was like if they don't make a deal, they don't make a deal. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, right? Because if we walked away, it's like playing chicken. Like, were they really shut down? Were they really not taking a deal? They're looking in the ballpark of, they're asking $480,000. It's not small money. It's not crazy big money, but it's nothing to just walk away from.
Wait, but what would you do if you said yes to them because you hadn't started bank hunting yet, and you said yes, and then you couldn't, right? Oh, you had your investor as a backup plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had it covered. It was just
Had
a
it
matter
covered.
of terms.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And marketing and increasing the customer base. What did you start doing to start,
Yep.
the engine running again?
So those guys were doing zero marketing, just really not paying any attention to Sortfolio. So there was not a Twitter. We had to acquire a Sortfolio, the Twitter handle for Sortfolio. There's no Facebook page, no Google+. No outreach was being done. There was this pool of over 10,000 free listings that hadn't been asked, they hadn't been upsold. So there's that assumption, like if we can get just even a percentage, a tiny percentage of all those free listings, we can multiply revenue.
Now 10,000 listings is 10,000 people. Am I right?
Yeah, a lot of them are design agencies, so
right.
I don't want to say like
no,
single individuals.
But 10,000 different entities.
Yeah, correct.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with 37 Signals, because I know not all of you are, as we discussed earlier, they have just a fantastic culture, and they were amazing at building a community through their blog in the beginning. And because they have all these other products, people are just naturally want to buy into whatever else they build. So that's how they would get so far without any traditional marketing.
Yeah, and of course, so that was a big concern of ours. That association with 37 Signals is probably providing all this traffic, and as soon as that cuts off, are we just going to totally dry up? So that was part of the due diligence. Like, are you there because of 37 Signals, or does Sortfolio actually produce value for you? That if that 37 Signals association went away, would you still stay on? Actually, I would say more than half of them didn't even know about the 37 Signals association. So that was great from a client side, from an agency side. Now, the thing we didn't think about we did think about it, traffic. So just traffic from the demand side. What would happen to that? Because 37 Signals gets so much traffic, and Sortfolio is linked to all of 37 Signals properties. So when that goes away, what is going to happen to that demand side traffic? Mm-hmm. That probably hurt us more than the client side. But having said that, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How did you get around that? I mean, what did you do to reach out to that end of that demand side traffic?
To the demand side traffic, yeah. So one of the great things, and this was also on our why did we want to buy it. So Sortfolio's SEO is killer. It's just got really high. It's got great page rank, great page reputation. We have high organic rankings for some great keywords.
What is SEO?
Search engine optimization. So that's the science and art of how you get your website up on Google or any other search engine. So you optimize your site to rank highly for certain keywords. So if you were looking for a web designer, you would type in find a web designer, or maybe you would say find a great web designer, and we would come up number one. So, or find a web designer.
I like that reaction.
Find a web designer in Los Angeles, web designer in Los Angeles, New York. So we're number one still. So that drives a ton of traffic, and we're conscious of that. We're working on that. We work very hard on our SEO. We spend a lot of time on it because it brings traffic. How are we marketing? So one learning lesson, which I did not foresee. So Sortfolio is a two-sided market, which means we have to market to both the agencies and the demand side, the clients who want to hire agencies. So that is a bitch. It is way harder than I thought it would be. Like I was aware of it, but it is hard. So what happens is we flipped some switches and we got agencies to jump on board. We ramped up pretty damn quickly, and a little back patting went around, and we were like, all right, we're doing great. Revenue's going up like crazy. But we didn't match the demand side. And what happens is it dilutes those leads across everybody. So it's not like those new guys are getting less traffic, less inquiries. Everybody's getting less inquiries. So we got to pull back.
Because to remind them, the designers pay to be on
designers
Sortfolio,
pay us, right? And if they're not getting leads, correct.
Right. So if I'm going to Sortfolio to hire a designer, you're not taking a transaction fee off of it.
Yeah, we don't get. So a lot of the freelance sites will get involved and they'll take a percentage of the transaction. We don't at all. Purely, the designers pay us to list as a pro subscription.
Perfect. Did you get your question answered? Like, did you feel it was answered to satisfy? Okay, good.
So we got to pull back. So we grew too fast. You always hear about people growing too fast, and I hear about it and I get it academically. I totally got it now. You can grow too fast. Yeah. So we have to. So now we're going to market. We are going to really focus on that demand side traffic, because really we have to provide value to our agencies. And if our agencies aren't getting leads, then we're not doing our job. So I would much rather. So it's a balancing act, right? You have to find this equilibrium. But I would much rather be heavier on the demand side and provide our clients with way more value they're like, oh man, I'd rather them say we're getting so many leads from you guys than saying we're not getting enough. And then we start turning on those switches to bring in clients and revenue.
So what's one thing that, if you could do one ask sitting here right now to everybody sitting here that would be a benefit to Sortfolio, what would that be?
Tell your friends about it. Check out Sortfolio, obviously. But if you, it's a great site. I'm not just saying that because, it is, if I didn't think it was a great site, I wouldn't have bought it. And we all need designers once in a while. Tell your friends. Everybody talks about, like, hey, you know where I get a designer, you know where I get a developer? Sortfolio.
Let's talk about why is design important? There's a couple of other things I want to ask, but since we're on that topic right now, like, why is design important to everybody's business? Why is that something vital?
Yeah, so I think design is actually becoming much more front of mind for a lot of people. Design, user interface, user experience. So it's a little bit easier to talk to people about it now, I think. But before, it just seemed like a hard sell, I think, to get people to pay extra to make their website, to give their website to a designer, like outside of just your developer. But design is a great way to differentiate yourself. I think the CEO of Sony maybe at some point said, he believed everybody in their marketplace basically had the same guts, the same product, the same technology per dollar, and he really believed that design is what would differentiate Sony from their competitors. In a competitive market, really, if you can make your website easier to use, friendlier, it makes a difference. You guys you guys will go to sites that just look and feel better. I think design is really about understanding what your user wants, what your customer wants, and providing that to them through an interface. And design isn't just about, colors and fonts. While that is, obviously that's part of it, but the reason fonts matter is because readability matters. And that all that stuff ties into conversion. There's a science to like eye tracking and what, where stuff should be placed. And a good designer will actually ask you, like, what's the purpose of your website? Is it to just purely convert? Are you trying to build your brand? Are you trying to grow social engagement?
I know most people in here understand what convert is, but just in case.
So make a sale. So you're a visitor to your site will complete some operation, generally in e-commerce. It's to get them to press buy at the end of the shopping cart. So once they've actually made that purchase and their credit card gets charged, that would be a conversion. So maybe they want to drive people to their Facebook page or something. I don't know. There's different websites have different purposes, and a good designer will understand that and design towards that. It's not just about making something look pretty.
We were talking about one of the people I know who founder of a company, changed the homepage of their site and increased sales by, I think it was $150,000 or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just by making a couple little tweaks, and so to me, that's where design is key, is maybe you're investing $5,000, but if you're investing $5,000 into the right designer, your sales will increase so much more than that.
Yes.
I concur. So getting back, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Another question on the
Yeah.
same vein, do you guys have an in-house designer that's constantly doing user testing and all this stuff?
Yep, so we just did some user
Great
testing.
question.
Do you guys know what user testing is? So even beyond there's A/B testing, right, where you can change one variable on so there's a great, here's something you guys can walk away with. Do you guys know, the splitter?
Optimizer. Web optimizer. Web optimizer. Yeah.
Optimizely,
Oh,
actually. Is one.
Optimizely,
Yeah, so Optimizely is fantastic. So you upload a little snippet of code to your website. It's not tough, and it puts up this awesome interface for you to start tweaking things, right? So you can change the color of a button without really having to know any code, and then the URL redirects to Optimizely. Optimizely will send some of the traffic to one site, some of the traffic to the other, and you can start to track your conversions. So you don't have to really know coding. It takes like all that craziness out of it. You can start tweaking the craziest little tiny things and see what converts better. So that's definitely something you guys should try. But user testing is actually, I think it's usertesting.com. You pay a fee, and you set up a task. So in our case, somebody go on Sortfolio, find your job is to find a designer for your boss in Detroit, and your budget is $17,500, and pick out 2 designers that you like. So they will jump on and start doing that task, and you're so used to seeing your site, right, that you think it's totally obvious. It was painful. It was so crazy. We learned so much about things that we just didn't see. So that's user testing. So usertesting.com is another great. You'll be shocked. You will learn so much. And the great thing is they talk while they're doing it. So you get this screenshot, and they're talking, so you get the thought process. Things that Eric, we were just dumbfounded. Things that seemed very obvious to us consistently became an issue.
So I have a hack on user testing. Not on the company, on having people test your website. So I think user testing is something like, what's the cost? Like $5, $10 per test?
I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
But as many as you want. You can just sign them up.
But so my hack, I think most of you know, I know a lot about outsourcing. I wrote the outsourcing cheat sheet. And so with Fancy Hands, which is an outsourcing company, I had, I think it's 15 people review one of my sites this week. And I think it cost me like $30 for all
That's
of them.
cheap.
And for me, it does the same job.
Yeah.
So with Fancy Hands, you sign up, you pay something like $40 a month, and you have something like 25 tasks, and then you can just assign whatever in your life. But in this particular case, I assigned them to do video screencasts and giving them specific instructions on the site. So it's a little bit cheaper to do it that way. Fancy Hands, yeah.
Is that on your website?
What?
Is that on your website?
On SaveBusinessTime. I don't have outsourcing. I'm thinking about doing a separate, that's another conversation. But no, fancyhands.com. He's talking about, I have a website called SaveBusinessTime, and it has all like the most awesome business software to save a lot of time for startups. Okay, so what has the hardest thing, I feel like we kind of answered this, but one of the questions was what has been the hardest thing to do after acquisition? I feel it was to like, oh, you have another answer.
It's definitely the two-sided market.
Yeah.
That was growing both sides, I think, is something I was not prepared for. I mean, consciously I was, but it's much more difficult than I thought it would be.
And I think that's something that a lot of people do. Like a lot of people start a company and they're like, oh, our customer is the whole world. But they don't understand by marketing to the whole world, that means you have, like how you market to a 10-year-old is different than how you market to a 25-year-old, how you market to a 40-year-old.
Depends on the 25-year-old.
Oh, well, that is true. But so I think it's really important to be very specific about who your target market is, because it does affect how much time it will take to do your marketing.
Yes.
To expand on that, is that problem simply countered by just doubling your marketing spend, or are there more intrinsically like difficult things to balance?
Yeah, so it all comes down to resources, right? It's time or money, and there's always so much to do. You guys know there's a never-ending list of things that have to get done. It's like, where do you spend your money and your time? I suppose if that's all we wanted to do, we could focus on both of those and just spend all kinds of crazy money on Google and on social networks and just ramp up demand side, and then likewise for the client side.
Infrastructure, like, is that kind of like doubling your staff, so to speak? You've got managers to both stakeholders.
Yep. So the good thing about Sortfolio, it's all web-based, so there's not really like a lot of customer support. I'll use another one. Do you guys use Zendesk?
Oh, that's great.
Customer support. That's what we use. It's free. It's easy to use. All your customer support tickets will just go. So you have a customer support email. So contact@sortfolio.com, whatever. Everything will bounce to Zendesk, and then your team can just jump in.
If you guys have a question, because I know you guys don't want to pull out your phones right now or start writing notes, just email me espree@techzulu.com, ESPREE @techzulu.com, and I'll send you whatever business resources you're looking for. Zendesk, Fancy Hands, Optimizely, and what was the other one? User testing. Yeah. Okay, where?
We don't really have a lot of like infrastructure costs. As we're ramping up, we're like learning stuff, trying stuff. There's always costs associated with doing stuff the first time as you expand. But our scale-up cost per se isn't so bad, fortunately.
And I feel like this is one of the questions we've addressed as well, but just because it's so important, what are some of the ways you attract designers? Like a couple tips they could walk away with to attract customers for their company. And then what are a couple different ways methods used to attract buyers? People to hire designers.
Yeah, okay, so.
Your two markets.
So for the client side, like I said, we're not focusing too much on that, but the easiest switches are that a lot of people just don't know about Sortfolio. So it's just a matter of outreach to designer communities, where designers hang out, what websites they're on, what social networks are they, like who are they talking about? I mean, it's actually, that's the easier switch, I think, just make direct outreach to designers.
So you're saying they should spend time in the communities of their target market and just talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, one second.
Can you differentiate, because I've used 99 designs and I've also paid for designers that actually know would understand what a UI is and, some degree of programming, which is a nightmare, and I outsourced to India.
Sure.
A bunch of sites, so you're not looking for a designer who just knows how to create graphics, or you do both. So what I'm hearing you is creating something a little more sophisticated.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk.
You're talking about the designer is.
So.
Let's talk about that in a
back.
second.
Yep, so let's come back to that. That's a great question.
So it was how to market.
So most of you guys, right? So most of you guys aren't actually going to have a two-sided market. So hopefully. I mean, they're great, right? So eBay is a two-sided market. They had to get people to list their stuff and to get people there to buy it. One without the other, and it's not going to work. So, but marketing so you're looking for marketing tricks.
Yeah. So something that they could walk away with.
Okay. So driving traffic. So right. So you want to get hold of your customers. Social is. I mean, you guys. I know you all hear social. It really is. Is anyone not doing social at this point?
Raise your hand. Don't
Twitter,
feel embarrassed. Okay.
So it's like low-hanging fruit, and it's really easy to learn if you're not familiar with it. But the great thing is you can make one-to-one connections with your customers and just start conversing with them. It's all people. So you can, here's a good one. So your competitors, identify who your competitor is. Go to their Facebook page and look at who likes them, okay? So now go to their pages and see what they're all into. So say you find, all right, say you're selling, I'm not even a sports guy, I don't know why this came to me. Say you're selling surfboards.
I'll give you an example, electronic cigarettes.
E-cigarettes, perfect. Okay, so you're selling e-cigarettes. So you will go to Blue, is it Blue Cigarettes? So you'll go to Blue's website, Facebook page, or Twitter, and look at who their followers are, okay? So now you're gonna go to each one of their pages and see what they're into. So say you find that a lot of them are into John Deere tractors. So now you go to where John Deere tractor people are hanging out and start talking about, what's the name of your company? Vapor Pure? Fuel, Vapor Fuel. So you'll go to John Deere tractor places, people online where people are talking about tractors, and start talking about Vapor Fuel. So now you're getting exposure to this audience that is likely to be into e-cigarettes, and you start scalping them. You'll start a conversation with them and you get exposure, and it's not that expensive.
Why would go to John Deere as opposed to just interacting on the Blue?
Because it's obvious, right? So.
Stimulating general.
Yeah, so Twitter's really good for that. So Twitter's great for directly scalping them. So or starting a conversation. So you can check, you can look on Twitter for who's talking about Blue cigarettes, okay? And
there's a program called Row Feeder that works, Row Feeder, and it will automatically, you can put your keywords in, and it will automatically create a spreadsheet for you with everyone talking about Blue cigarettes or John Deere or whatever.
And this stuff I'm telling you right now about the social stuff, I'm telling you this works. This totally works. So go on Twitter and see who's talking about Blue cigarettes, okay? And literally so in Twitter it's called, you at somebody, you have a direct conversation with them, you're not broadcasting it to the world, and just at them something. And don't at them a sales pitch, just look at what they're talking about and just say something in response to what they're talking about. Don't sell them, just make a conversation. And one by one, start building your audience. And it just works, man. Everybody, your customers are people, your employees are people. It's just interfacing and getting that connection.
How many hours would you apply to that a day?
Yeah, so that's the problem. So that's resources. But I think that connection through social is way more valuable than AdWords.
And this is where outsourcing comes in. You could use services like Fancy Hands, or Zirtual is a great one, or hiring someone on Odesk, although I wouldn't recommend that for social outreach. But the point is there are a lot of different outsourcing resources. So when you think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to start doing all this stuff by myself, you don't if you know how to leverage the resources accessible to you. With a Z, Zirtual, yeah. In the back with the black shirt, who's interested, yeah, what? I mean, I know he said, you know, social is great, it's easier to get started, but I know that's probably like, yeah, right, that's like a really overwhelming concept. What's your biggest obstacle in like just really like taking advantage of the social world and
I'm not. It's great. What he said was great. I just didn't know.
I didn't know that.
So you do feel like you could walk away and apply it?
I would do that.
Okay, cool.
And it
cool.
works. You'll be amazed. It
Cool.
works. Because people just want to talk. People like, Twitter is so full of narcissists. Like everybody is just in love with themselves. They just
Ego
wanna talk about
marketing, that's
themselves.
what I
They
call
love
it.
it. It's exactly it.
Yeah.
You know, the
You can
fact.
actually define the ad towards a person that has a big following. You can actually narrow it down.
Yep. So clout comes in great for that. So it's not just about the number of followers, but it's also their influence. Clout. I mean, is clout valuable or not? I don't know. I think it's a great benchmark for somebody's influence, how active they are, and the value of their connections. So if you're engaging with somebody with a high clout score, with high influence, and other people see that, the likelihood of those people watching being important are high.
Perfect.
So I would filter by high clout scores.
When you define the app, it made it clear, it's just like you making a cold.
That's exactly it.
Right,
Yeah.
so I didn't realize.
Yeah. And don't make a cold sales call, just talk about, they could be talking about something else and just be like, that's hilarious. Yeah.
So we're going to segue back into acquisition because that's going to directly address his question about competition and how Sortfolio differs from 99 Designs and ProudSpring and all these other designs.
Yeah. So crowdsourced design is actually the antithesis of what our designers do. So crowdsourcing, maybe crowdsourcing a logo, because design is more than just kicking out an image, right? That looks appealing to you. It is about understanding who you are as a company, as a brand, as the service you provide, your messaging, your company culture. You want that consistency throughout every customer touch point that they have. That crowdsourced design doesn't really get to that heart and value of what real design offers. I think crowdsourced design works if you're just trying to kickstart something, do you guys know an MVP, minimum viable product? If you're just trying to do some website to test your model, you don't want to spend money on design, maybe. But it's not, there's an art and a science to design. I don't think you get that from crowdsourced design. I think there's, what you should do? Reach out to one of our designers, just get on Sortfolio, call one up, and just ask them why you should care about design. And they're probably much more eloquent about it than I am. But I am a true believer in the value that those guys add.
Does that answer your question?
Right, I've hired a lot of people, so I just want to understand your platform a little bit more. So really you're creating a brand Bible is what, you need to know someone that knows how to do that, more than just someone that's creating a DNA brochure.
Exactly, and it's not even just the brand DNA. It's those guys really will understand what you're trying to create. It's not like make me a website. It's about what is this website really trying to do, and what are you really trying to get out of this?
He was talking about this earlier about how one of the first things he did after acquiring the company was he segmented the different types of designers, so based on industry, like restaurants, et cetera, so that if someone has a restaurant business, they'll get a designer that really has experience in building restaurant websites.
I'm trying to think what e-cigarettes would fall under. I don't know. We don't have vices.
So this is kind of rhetorical, but what are some of the benefits of acquiring a company rather than building from scratch? And I mean, the most obvious one is by acquiring a company, you have that history to learn from and to be able to make improvements from there, and that's huge.
Yeah, I touched on it a bit. It's that inertia stuff. I think the hardest thing in starting something is getting those first customers, and you've just leapfrogged all that, and you've got a running operation. I mean, you're up and running. That's so valuable. Lucky for us, and we bought a brand. and that's also a value. It takes time and money to build a brand. And we also, we got this community along with it.
It's a lot to live up to.
It is. There was really responsibility. Like we took on this sense of responsibility. Like there's this community that loves Sortfolio. We better not fuck this up. Like there's a lot riding on this.
If people sitting here wanted to have their company acquired, because a few of them raise their hands. Raise your hands again if you want to have your company acquired. What do you suggest they prioritize?
Yeah, so I think, everybody would love to have their company acquired, right? But there's a difference, I think, if you're building a company to get acquired.
And Jason Fried talks about that a lot, how he doesn't build Basecamp and high rise and all that to get acquired. Right. He wants a lifetime. Right. That's his life.
And it's different. But say you want to get acquired. Say you want to build a business, you want somebody to buy. So if you want an exit, you have to know where the door is, right? So think about it backwards. So you're selling a product. So first think about who would be your acquirers, right? Who would actually be in the position to buy you? So generally it could be a direct competitor, or you could be offering a complementary service. So for example, eBay bought PayPal, right? Not in the same market, but complementary service. Actually, just today, Yelp bought Seat.me, which is a reservation service. I think 12.7 million. Chump change. So complementary service, right? So either competitor or something that you're going to provide value to some complementary company. So identify who that is, because if you don't know who that is, you don't really know where you're going, right? So set that as a goal. So now you know who would acquire you. Look at, really, LinkedIn is awesome for this. Find out who the players are in that company. There's a company called Canvas Pop. They make prints on canvas. The founder's name's Adrian, acquaintance. But he was just talking to me. He's like, you would not believe, there's one or two guys in the company that are going to make that decision or open that door for you. And deals, this guy's had some great exits. He's got a fantastic company right now. He was like, you wouldn't believe the deals that get made at cocktail parties, literally. You will just be talking to somebody, and it's just, again, relationships and people.
So you're telling everybody to drink more?
I'm not telling you to drink more. So it's get your intel, right? Do some recon. Who are you targeting? Who are the people you need to know? And reach out to them, casually. Just not a sales pitch, not that you're trying to sell your company, but just what your company is about and why you could add value to their services, why they should know who you are, and just cultivate that relationship. Don't start, you have had too much to drink, sir. Yes, making deals over there.
Cocktailing it up, yeah.
And don't start those relationships when you need them, right? Start cultivating those relationships early, because that stuff takes time. And then you don't want to lean on them just when you have to. Just get in there early and foster those relationships.
So I want to get into more the man behind it all, who you are and how you came to be this company acquirer. Okay. But before then, what questions do we have? Yes, go ahead.
Another question.
Yeah.
What role did company culture and employees play in your decision how attractive is that component?
Yeah, so it comes down to, again, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, people, but you're dealing with people. So we haven't done, so when we bought Sortfolio, nobody came with it. So it's just Eric and I. But having said that, on the acquisition part, so acqui-hires, so acquisition hiring. So that happens a lot where a company will buy another startup or another company because of the team, not even so much for the technology or the product. And team goes a long way. Actually, how do you position your company for acquisition? Strong team. A strong team is so crucial. Any VC is going to look at who the management team is.
That's more important than the revenue?
I would say yes. You can't not have revenue, right? Revenue is like a standard. But if you've got, I think they would take shitty revenue and a strong team over awesome revenue and a crappy team.
So think a bad idea, but a strong team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Because those guys will persevere, right? Those guys will figure it out. A strong team. That was a tangent.
Did we answer?
How important is company culture? Yes, I think company culture is important, especially if you're looking to get acquired. they look for all that stuff. It matters.
And also I want to ask, the technicalities of taking over someone else's company, it seems really overwhelming. Passwords, logins, systems.
Goes back to the team part. So Eric is just, and I say this with all love, Eric, I mean, he's like super nerd. He's awesome, just awesome. Couldn't have done it without him. He's just superstar. So he handled all of it. I can't even speak to it. It looked really easy to me. I was like, all right.
Here I am. So, okay, getting into more about who you are. This is going to be the biggest shocker, is you do more than one company at once. So what is that, and how in the world do you manage your time? You're also building a coffee company. What is that about?
So there's another startup called Being Genius, working title. It's basically a coffee subscription service. So it's for specialty coffee, so like coffee snobs. You sign up, you get a selection of coffee roasts every month. There's a couple other guys doing that, but the difference is we have a taste algorithm recommendation engine behind it. So what that means, basically like Pandora or Netflix, you jump back online after you get your delivery every month, tell us if you liked what you got or not. We actually have figured out all the flavor profiles in every roast. So we can start to figure out what flavors you're liking, and next month you're gonna get coffee that's more in line with what you like. So month over month, the engine gets smarter. It's learning your taste preferences, and we're gonna introduce you to coffees from specialty roasters across the country that you're more apt to like, instead of, so our competitors are just sort of sending you what they think is great, like their tastemakers are choosing what's good. We're sort of with the mind that you're the ultimate tastemaker, and that's really what matters.
Is the site live yet?
The site is live. We're in private beta, so you have to sign up.
Where do people go?
beinggenius.com.
Cool. So yeah, how do you manage
So-
too? What are you doing?
so-
Richard Bransoning?
Yeah. So on Being Genius, so as you guys know, startups it's more than full time. Espree's got this great saying, like, entrepreneurs are the only people that'll work 80 hours, so we don't have to work 40. So it is more than full time. For Being Genius, I'm more sort of playing quarterback and like guiding the team. Runga is actually the like operating coffee genius. This guy knows more about coffee than I do about a lot of stuff. So great team again. Team, but I'm doing it all the time. I mean, I'm just doing it all the time. Sortfolio during the day and early.
I mean, what's your day look like? Can you run us through, like, is
Yeah.
every day the same, or is every day different?
So Eric, my partner in Sortfolio, he actually lives in Boston. So we have a daily call, 9 a.m. my time, so noon over there. So that sort of sets some routine. And then after that, we just sort of set the agenda for the day and go through Sortfolio work all day. I'll put out any immediate fires for Being Genius, obviously, and then night times will be Being Genius time and Sortfolio fires.
And how about personal time?
What? That's the sacrifice, right? So not a lot of personal time. Everybody around me makes sacrifices. I don't have a social life anymore. But at this point in my life, this is what I'd rather be doing. I think, yeah, I don't go out much anymore.
Let's talk a little bit about business partners, because that's a really controversial topic. You have a great business partner. How did you meet one another, and how are you able to work so well together? I had a great business partner too. A lot of people don't. So to have a business partner, to not have a business partner, you brought up team multiple times. This is something we should address.
Yeah, so I generally have always been kind of like a lone wolf sort of person, always wanting to do everything myself. What I'm learning very quickly is that you can't. And you can't be an expert in everything. And I think building that right team and getting people to shoulder the burden and get you through stuff is invaluable. But you have to find the right people. Eric and I met, so I'll do this really quickly. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been trying to do stupid little things that I think are going to be brilliant. So do you guys know Palm Pre? Palm was trying to come back on this platform. It was going to be the big comeback. I've been a little tech nerd since I was a kid.
It's like a paperweight, right?
That is not nice. So I had a little Palm when I was a little kid. It was like the first PDA, right? And just the market timing wasn't right. But I've been on Palm products since I was a little kid. So the thought of them like coming out with a new OS, and the OS was slick. I still think it's slick. Like Android is still just like implementing features that they had nailed. But the hardware stunk and they just didn't have market share. So my idea was I was gonna get first to market with like 5 apps on WebOS, their new platform. So put together a development team in India, right? So they're gonna crank away, because you know from the other platforms, like because Android and iOS have been around for a bit, you know what's gonna be successful, right? You know, like everybody wants solitaire. Everybody wants a little breakout game. So if you can build those high quality games, great interfaces, first to market, if it took off, you're in. You can build a brand. So
It's that easy.
everything, so I'm the eternal optimist, like everything, like you can do anything. So Eric, who I didn't know, so there's some guy in New York who's building showcase apps. Like he's building big apps that are gonna launch when WebOS launches. And some developer is having a meetup in Manhattan. And I was visiting my parents in Phoenix and I saw the ad and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. I want to talk to him about my idea. It was the first sort of public outreach about WebOS. So I fly out there, Eric's the guy giving the presentation, and I just go talk to him and I'm like, hey, here's my idea. And he was like, that's a really good idea. It sounds like it's good. You're smart. I was like, I'm getting my MBA, all this stuff. So then I fly back home and we just sort of kept in touch. That was it. Just, we kept in touch and 5 years later, here we are.
I mean, it was the same thing with my business partner and I. We didn't start out as business partners. It was just a natural evolution of our relationship. It was awesome. What would you say before we move on to the next question are the top 3 characteristics in a solid business partnership? I could give you one. Trust.
Yep. Yeah, and trust takes time, right? So it's hard to say. I mean, obviously, if you have a previous relationship with that person, that's fantastic. I think work pressures, though, can put a different strain on something than a personal relationship. So talent, I think, is a huge one, right? You don't want to get in bed, friend or not friend, with somebody that's not talented and really knows their stuff and is equally committed to seeing this thing through as you are. Talent, I think, trust, and shared vision.
One I'll contribute, ethics. We shared the same moral code, my business partner and I, and that helped when it got really hard, which in every business you have so many challenging days.
Absolutely.
And our moral code and ethics were in alignment, so that's how we were able to see through those tough times. Yeah. Okay, what were you doing before Sortfolio? What kind of businesses have you had?
Okay, so I just did this talk. There's this great organization in downtown LA called Urban Teens for Text. They're a nonprofit. This is a tangent. But they're so great, I gotta talk about them.
How can people check them out?
I think it's urbantxt.com, I think. If you Google UrbanTXT, it'll come through. But they're a nonprofit. They take kids in Watts, Compton, Inglewood, South Central, and you have to apply. They take high school kids that are interested in leadership, technology, management, and they bring them into this 3-month program during the summer and give them exposure to what they can do, the options out there. And 100% of these kids go on to a 4-year degree. It's amazing. So I went in and talked to them. I gave them a talk. You know, they're like, come in and talk about entrepreneurship. I was like, sure. So I was like, they were like, what value could you teach them something? So I actually talked to them about failure, because I think it's so important that you learn the power of failure, not be scared of it, and it's just part of the process. So anyways, I did an inventory of all the stuff that I've done and failed at. So to answer your question, I think I've tried to launch a jewelry company, tried to launch an exotic car share, tried to launch the mobile software development company. What else? A lot of stuff. My background is actually in commercial real estate. That was a good one. So that was probably my first big thing, commercial real estate. Investment side, brokerage, do financial analysis, where rich people should put their money.
One of your huge successes was in the music business, right?
I wouldn't say it was a huge success, but yeah, so before this, I was in a rock band. I was a guitar player. It was more than just like your buddy's rock band. Like we were doing some pretty legit stuff. But I've been equally passionate about music as I am about entrepreneurship. As the band got bigger, it took away more time from the business side of me. And the music industry is, there's a quote, I don't remember what it said, the music industry is a cruel mistress. You don't make anything until you're just gigantic. You could be doing, like, you could be playing some amazing shows and doing some amazing things, and on the outside it would look like you're just killing it, but you're still like eating ramen and in the back of a sweaty van with 4 dudes sharing beds. And it just got to the point, like, I could have done that for the rest of my life, no doubt. I mean, I miss it like crazy. Probably the hardest thing I had to do, I've ever done. But the opportunity cost at that point, I was like, you know, I want to have a house, I want to drive nice cars, and it was just, and I'm capable of doing that stuff. So it just became a choice.
How did being a musician help you become a better business person? You learn to deal with some interesting people. And I think, you know what, you learn to take rejection. You learn, like, you get told no so many times when you're a musician, it just becomes, you're totally just callous to it. It's like, you know, you ask somebody no, and they'll say no, and you just like, you'll just ask them again. Like, you know, like, did you not hear me? You're like, well, I know, but just check in. And you just do it over and over and over. And I think that tenacity you have to have in business, like just constant getting after it. So I have a ton more questions, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, I want to make sure we're on track here, because I feel like I'm babbling a little bit. Is there stuff, like, you want to steer this a certain way? Is there any value I can provide?
Go in the back.
I'm just really interested, kind of like, with all the experience and all the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the Being Genius idea and like how you put together that team. Who is the team? How do you decide who gets executive, who you pay for?
Great, perfect.
And there was another hand here. Who was that? I won't forget you, I promise.
So, and Being Genius is really interesting. Do you guys know Startup Weekend? So Startup Weekend, just in case you don't, real quick, you get there's an organization called Startup Weekend. I think they pull off these things in 130 cities worldwide. So you go in on a Friday, you don't know anybody, you go in by yourself. There's 3 groups, developers, designers, business guys. So they'll take like 40 people of each group. You go into a room, and Friday night is set up, people are just pitching their ideas. And then Friday night, you put together this team of some people from every category. You don't know anybody, and then you have until Sunday to execute your company. So and you have to give a presentation. There's like, they'll bring in 3 judges that are sort of big in the startup community, and they will judge your presentation. Ideally, you want to make sales. You want to get to a viable product by Sunday if you can pull it off. And you give a real presentation to like investors. So actually, Runga is like the coffee guy. He had this idea of like an Amazon marketplace, all encompassing for specialty coffees. And then I was like, well, we could add to that. We could do a subscription service for the recurring revenue, right? Recurring revenue is great. And also, if we could tack on this recommendation engine, that would really like give us a hook. So that was that. So we just picked literally strangers, right? And this was just it was the weekend before Thanksgiving. This is last November only.
And you already had Sortfolio.
I had Sortfolio going, and I'd already signed up. So Startup Weekend in LA is like this really hot thing. I think it sells out in minutes. And here
hotter than a rock concert.
It is, it is. So, I mean, I just love this stuff. So I was gonna just go in as a passive participant. I just wanted to see what was going on. And because I've got Sortfolio now, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so great. I'm just gonna lay back. I'm gonna give myself to the system and enjoy the process. And then here I am. So we actually, we put up a website. So going to your point, right? So we put up a website, totally just, the shitty website, Saturday. We went live with the website Saturday. Sunday morning, we hit social media. We hit Twitter. Sunday morning. Come Sunday night, we had sales. So we go present. And
what'd you do on Twitter?
How'd
you spend your time, yeah?
Yep, so I searched #coffee, and we just blasted anybody talking about coffee. So we ended up getting,
How did you blast it?
Say again?
How did you blast it? Explain it.
Yeah, so we just looked up who was talking about coffee, and we just said, I know what we did. So we started adding. We just started following everybody. We just did a search for #coffee, and we did a location search, so everybody within like a 50-mile radius of Los Angeles. It could have been anywhere, it didn't even matter. And we just started adding everybody. And then our address, our description said what we did. And then I think 2 bloggers picked it up and tweeted something about it, like retweeted our message. Actually, we got some singer's wife, some big singer, I can't remember who it was.
And this is totally random, right?
Totally random, but it's the power of social media. It's crazy.
So when you follow it and you post it, then it shows up in my feed, and then I see you, and I'm curious who
Yep.
you are.
Yep. Yeah, and they follow you back. They want to see who just followed me. So Bean Genius just followed me. Who's Bean Genius? In our description, it says we're a coffee subscription service that picks coffee based on your unique taste profile, and we'll
So
introduce
it's about
you.
having a very clear tagline.
Yeah, communicate your message clearly, right? I think it's a great, like if you're talking to VCs, give them your message as if you were talking to a 5-year-old and that 5-year-old had to tell it back. Like that's how simple you want to make your messaging. But that's it, social media. So we had sales by Sunday night. We put my little MBA skills to work and showed them like total market size of specialty coffee. You make assumptions that we are going to get maybe this much of the market will buy online. Of that, maybe this percentage is willing to try our service, whatever. We just make assumptions, made a little funnel, gave them this presentation, and we came in second.
But you didn't build a recommendation engine in a day, did you?
Nope. So, yeah, but they don't know that, right? Because we haven't shipped coffee. So, but we could have faked it. We could have faked it because Runga knows everything about coffee. So he could have said, and coffee suppliers themselves sort of do a breakdown, like this one's got blueberry, honey, and spicy notes. So we could have picked it. So we actually had credit card transactions. We set up a credit card merchant. We set up a shopping cart. And the great thing is, I mean, in the startup world, like there's services for everything now. It's so cheap to experiment. I mean, there's like 5 shopping cart providers I can think of, and just, you get PayPal, you can run payments and.
Totally.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Not entirely.
Okay, so equity.
Yeah.
Yep. So the team was 6 people, right? So it's random at that point.
Okay.
So,
And they're all from Startup Weekend getting together.
So 6 people, totally random, completely random. So you
followed his idea then?
Yep.
It was his idea and the rest of people jumped on this idea?
Correct. Correct.
Right, and he's taking autographs after.
So we decided, because the response was so great, that this might be something cool to go after. So we kicked out 3 people who wanted to be part of it, which
that hurts.
A couple people were.
What kind of people were they? Developers?
I mean, how do you even do that? Get out.
It wasn't. It wasn't. It's just sort of like
Was that your job?
Startup Weekend.
Well, you had the MBA, so you got to stay in the game.
Yeah.
Was that your job?
I'm trying to think who did it.
So it wasn't necessarily you.
I think I did one of them. Somebody else did the other 2 or something. Anyways.
No, some people usually drop off. They're like, they're there just for the weekend, and then okay.
Yeah, Runga's saying they're there for the weekend. And that was kind of my thought too. It's like, we just went in there for the weekend. I don't understand why that automatically gives you equity, and nobody owns the idea.
Right.
I mean, you're equally welcome to go launch this on your own. We don't own it. I mean, hold on.
So team building, did we answer?
So we're down to the 3. We had an equity discussion, and that's just an internal thing, that you do, and that's a work in progress, right? So that was late November. Then the holiday started, so we didn't actually get after it until like January. Everybody went overseas. January we start. So we had it's a fluid discussion, right? So even now we're in July. We're probably making some tweaks.
And did your customers know they were on a waiting list?
So we had the credit card transaction. So what we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Now we got orders. So Runga was just going to go out and buy coffee and ship them to them. I mean, they don't know. So we gave them that option, or we were going to refund their money. And we're just like, thanks for testing. But we're going to do this and all that. So we have we got like a several hundred person waiting list.
So
Wait, did you refund the money, are you saying?
Yeah, some got coffee, some got refunded.
Yeah, some got coffee.
So everything that's been done to date has been between the 3 of you. You guys have been able to get it done.
Yeah.
Self-funded?
Self-funded. Yeah.
I want to make sure we get other questions who haven't asked a question yet. Who else has a question about acquisition or building a company? Anybody? Don't. Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a difference between investment and acquisition. So talk about that a little bit.
So acquisition, you're assuming like they're buying you out.
Yeah,
Right.
Acquisition to me is like money in my pocket, right?
Yep.
Someone invests in my company.
Or it could be, so an investment is probably like an infusion where they're taking part of your equity, right? An acquisition would be more like buying you wholesale.
Are you asking what the difference is between the two?
Just talk about how the buyers or how the party's different.
Oh.
in between those?
Okay, so somebody acquiring you is probably doing it for strategic reasons. So you're going to add value to their business. Somebody investing in your company is probably looking for a return, right? So private equity would be more probably interested in the investment. So an angel investor or a VC is going to want to invest money for some return because they see huge growth. They don't really necessarily care what your business is. But Yelp clearly cares about Play's business because that's a strategic move for them. So that would be an acquisition.
Does that answer your question?
Do you think there's a difference in how you position yourself?
Oh.
How you build your company?
That's a good question. I think getting investment is probably easier. It's more broad, right? You have a much broader base of investors than you do potential targets for who might acquire you. If you're ripe for acquisition, you're probably ripe for investment. Like I think I could get investment in Sortfolio. I don't think we would get acquired right now, at least at a valuation that would be attractive.
And I haven't forgotten about you, but I just want to make sure I get their question first because I haven't asked yet. Behind you, Ryan, because I know you had a chance already.
What are your long-term goals for Sortfolio?
Great question. Sortfolio has a lot of growing to do as far as potential. The market is vastly untapped. So we would not sell right now. I think there's so much value we can add. So the goal is to really, we want to perfect that meeting of creative agencies and potential clients. There's a big pain point there. We want to make that as painless as possible. And we want to get on board. I mean, if it was up to me, I would have every creative agency in the United States or the world on Sortfolio and just be the ultimate destination for finding web designers.
And you had a question too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I came in late, so you might have already answered this, so if you did.
It's all right.
But what was it that appealed to you about Sortfolio that piqued your interest in the first place?
We did talk about that before. It was.
We can talk offline, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about the equity discussion in terms of different players, different roles, and how it defines equity?
In the coffee company?
Well, it doesn't have to be specific to that.
So, okay, so sure. So in general terms, the capital you can invest in a company is either capital with money or capital with labor. So you've either got hours or you've got money invested. And then in those hours you're putting in, it's sort of like, what is the skill you bring to the table? Somebody obviously way more experienced, his time is worth more than somebody not as experienced. So given that, you try to find some balance that makes sense. So somebody's working full-time in the job, but doesn't have enough money, right? So there might be some balance there. So somebody might be able to put in 50 grand, but says I can't put any time into the business, but that still should be worth some equity. That doesn't necessarily mean the guy that has no money is putting time in shouldn't get any equity. And that conversation is where the art happens of negotiating. And there's some, I mean, you can look at other models and there's books out there that'll kind of guide you sort of like to sort of thumbnail rules. But it's all open for negotiation. What's the Slicing Pie is a book. So his whole thing is about you make a fluid agreement, so you don't set it in stone straight away. The idea is you revisit what everybody's roles are through time and keep adjusting accordingly. But there's no magic, there's no one answer for that.
We'll go here and then we'll go there and then we'll take a couple more in the audience and I think we're gonna have to wrap up in just a few minutes.
I just want to get some clarity on your chronological path. So you MBA first or commercial real estate wealth management first?
Yeah.
MBA, which order, what school? Because again, these things are,
Yeah.
these things
Can you
come
do a
about
quick
with-
fire
I can do
of
real
like
quick,
your history?
real quick. I won't go into all the little startup stuff.
Because we didn't get into a lot of your history.
So straight out of undergrad, I was actually going to go be a doctor, but I can't stand school. So before I could start practicing, it would have been forever. So it was like, I'm not going to go to med school. What are you going to do? I saw those like late night real estate things, like Carlton Sheets, you know, like no money down, and all these housewives and stuff making money on real estate. And I was like, I can do this. So I just got my broker's license, just in Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin. So so I didn't know anything about real estate. I mean, I knew nothing. I just saw an infomercial at night. And then my dad was like, don't do residential because you're gonna put in time on these contracts, do commercial because the money's bigger. And if you're working on commissions, you know, same amount of time in, bigger deals, so you're gonna make more money. It was all the same to me, I didn't know. So, all right, commercial it is. And then I took this, in case you're interested in commercial real estate, there's an organization called CCIM. They are like, it's like getting a PhD in commercial real estate. So I just took this crash course. They were in Chicago, still in Chicago. It's not far from Milwaukee. I learned so much in a short amount of time. And then did that. So then that happened. Music was happening sort of at the same time on a small scale. And I was like, all right, I've made some money in commercial real estate. I'm gonna move to LA and join a band. I'm gonna make it. So I'm out here doing music, doing small little entrepreneurial things. Nothing like crazy took off. Got sick of learning on my own dime, right? So like I said, I was just doing everything by myself. Doing that gets expensive. Like making mistakes is expensive. And I'm like, and it takes a long time when you're just trying to do everything for the first time by yourself. So at that point, the MBA sort of seemed like a good idea. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get a formal education about this. So I know really what I'm talking about instead of just guessing. So UCLA Anderson, did that during that period, still trying entrepreneurial things. So I've got the band, which is starting to get bigger. I've got the MBA, and I'm trying to do little entrepreneurial things. The entrepreneurial things, for whatever reasons, aren't taking off. Learned something from every failure, no doubt. Graduated, the band's going great. This is 2011. The band is now taking more and more time. I'm sort of done with school, ready to, you know, make some money, and then made the decision to quit the band. Sortfolio actually had nothing to do with me quitting the band. Quit the band literally 2 months after Eric calls with this opportunity.
Cool.
Finance Sortfolio.
Bank, we talked about that in the beginning.
You missed
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah, I'm curious why 37 wasn't interested in having any equity at all.
It was they straight away was just in their offering. It was like, we're not interested in equity discussions. It's cash only.
Yes.
How many employees do you have in Sortfolio?
Is Eric and I.
Really?
Yeah, or me and Eric, I guess is more correct.
Wait, no, that's actually,
Eric and me?
no, but,
Eric and me, I think.
so someone emailed me about Sortfolio and emailed your customer support, and they got a message, and it was from someone on your customer support team.
It was the outsourcing.
It's probably Eric.
Really? Oh, well, I could be wrong. Any other questions? They were really fast, whoever it was. It was like super fast. Yeah.
What's the name of your band?
I'd rather not say. We are just, as things do, we're having some issues. So I'd rather just not say. Sorry. Oh, and that's a good learning thing too. Sorry. Did you ask me about what did I learn or something? What did I change? Regrets? Anyways.
Yeah, I was going to, but I
get your
get
agreements in place early, get them on paper. Like everything has like a honeymoon period, and everybody's got the same glorious vision. And I've done it like every time I do it, I'm like, I'm not going to do it again. I learned my lesson, and I didn't learn my lesson, and I do it again, and it just repeats itself. So, seriously, like, write it down. Write down the agreements, like the equity agreements, and even if you say it's going to change in the future, but get something down on paper.
Would you say that networking has been really important
It's
to you finding your
fantastic question.
teammates?
What was that question?
She was asking if networking has been important and valuable in my business growth. It has been completely valuable, completely. Comes down to people again. And I think what Adrian from Pop Canvas was saying, that deals just happen at cocktail parties. And I wouldn't have met you had I not been out networking.
I was just thinking that. Founders Card, if you guys don't know it, we're both a member of Founders Card. We love it.
I think some of the craziest relationships I have has come out of networking. I think if you're just, as easy as it is to sit at your desk all day as an entrepreneur, and it just seems like you have this endless task list that everything has to get done today. But you have to get out there and meet people. Things just happen by meeting people and who you know and what's going on. And this person knows this person, and you know.
How can everybody stay in touch with you? Twitter,
I am
email,
all about talking to people and helping, man. So anything, I can do, or any advice or questions about anything. I never answer my phone, but Twitter is Mr. Krishna. Mr. is spelled out MisterKrishna. You can email me, krishna@sortfolio.com. I'll give you my phone number. You can, well, it's on the net. I'll be more than happy to give you my phone number afterwards. You can text me.
I just want to thank you for taking your time with TechZulu.
It's my pleasure, guys. Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. I hope this was valuable.
And again, we want to thank Roth. And I wasn't kidding when I said that I'm really committed to all your success. So again, my email is espree@techzulu.com. If you didn't feel comfortable maybe asking your question out loud, please email me. That's why we're both sitting here. I never spend my time unless I'm absolutely dedicated. I'm here for you. I usually do stay after. I can't this time. So you have my email, espree@techzulu.com. And thanks for being here. You guys know there's pizza and beer. Am I missing anything? Efren is the most amazing boss man on the planet.
Thanks, Efren.
Thank you guys.
Anything I'm missing?
No, just, enjoy.
Bye, video. Have a good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you.
Sweet.